Welcome guys, welcome to the stream, welcome to my channel and another video. Working on this guy here, that is our 1/25th scale Firebird, aka Trans Am. This guy here. Yeah, so if I sound a little bit different than normal, it's because I'm fighting another cold. Another cold? Well, I'm fighting a cold, and so my voice ain't exactly what it should be. And so maybe I don't quite have the same energy that I normally have, so just bear with me on this. I do want to keep going on this, and well, I've got the time off work, so yeah, so let's get into it. So I did some stuff the other day, getting all the interior stuff ready to be assembled. Put the decals on the dashboard. Let me change the camera and I'll show you what I've done here. So, the dash is literally just a decal, and you can see it's actually one piece that's got clear for the lenses. Yeah, I messaged you on Instagram. You didn't check. I'm sorry, Elisa. I'm gonna check that right now. I don't think I got a message on Instagram. Let me see that right now. I am not showing any messages. So, I'm sorry. I don't have it. I did not get a message. So I'm sorry, Lisa. Check on message requests. Okay, I'm going to do that right now. Requests. I have no message requests. So I'm sorry. So I apologize, I don't have it. I didn't get a request. So what the kit, the decals that I bought for this, I bought a few different ones for different variations on this. And so it actually comes with separate. I can get the glare off of this thing a little bit. You can see a little bit on these. And my camera doesn't want to focus. That's great. I'm having a great time. This is fun. Really. Okay. Where were we here? Okay. So, we get this to focus a little bit on here. You can see. Come on, come on. There, okay. So we've got the entire dashboard there, but we've also got separate decals for the gauges. Okay, so I put the gauges on first, and they go into the recessed parts. Come on, focus now. You go into the recessed parts of the dash, and then the one big long decal goes over top, and so it's like it's got lenses. Come on, stupid camera. Focus. Losing my patience. There we go. Okay, so that's the decals for the dash. Also have a decal that goes on the center console here around the shifter, so that was nice. And don't have to try and paint all that little chrome detail. A couple little decals for the doors, panels there for the pull handle, the window wiper, or not wiper, but the window roll-up handle, and the mirror adjuster for the door panel. So those are in. So we want to complete our interior by putting in the dash in here like that, and then we got a steering wheel lying around here somewhere right there, and then the other seat. So let's get these put in. Bunch of glue there, bunch of glue there. Of course, you know, you test fit 400 times and it fits great. As soon as you put glue on it, you have problems. I don't know why that is. Steering wheel goes in like that. Now it's not you see, this dash is not an exact fit. It kind of presses in and then it doesn't. A bit of a pain. I tighten that up. And I hate that this is now hunting for focus constantly. There we go. Fixed. Just add a little bit of this thin in there to make sure she's going to stay. It's a steering wheel. I want to have just like this. I want it straight. This side doesn't want to glue. Why don't you want to glue? I'll just have to wait a second. We'll give that a second. Give that a second to dry. Now, going back to our undercarriage, while I let that just dry for a minute. I did a little bit of dry brush with some silver on there just to make some of the detail pop out a little bit. You can now see it on the camera, where before it was just all black and you couldn't see anything. Is it realistic? Maybe not necessarily. Underside of cars don't really get a lot of wear underneath of them, even as time goes by, so you don't really get that. But for visual purposes, that's going to help. You're going to be able to see that, and that's, you know, a little bit of artistic license, I guess you could say, to get that to pop out. So, another thing I did, in test fitting on this thing, if I put this under here and actually get this to sit, it's a little bit tricky now that I've got the front bulkhead on. There we go. So that's basically how it's going to sit. It's like this, right? And I found the holes for the wheels where they sit on the front puts the wheels a little bit like that, and you've got a pretty big gap between the top of the tire and the top of the wheel well, and I did not like that at all. It makes the car actually look like it's sitting with the front end jacked up, like there's no engine in it or something, and it just doesn't look right. See, the back end is squatting pretty good. The tire is actually tucked into that wheel well just that little bit. And well, I want the front to be the same. So what I did was I took a drill and I drilled a hole right above the hole where it's supposed to go. You might be able to see that, where you get the normal hole there and our new hole. So now if I put the tire in that new hole, the wheel kind of tucks underneath the wheel well just a tiny little bit. And when I sit this down, the car's sitting more level, and so it's going to look better like that. And so that's my kind of fake way of lowering the front end. So yeah, I did that. And so that being said, I can now glue their front wheels in just like so. Trick, of course, not putting so much glue on that you actually glue the wheels solid. So that's going to be the trick. That will be the trick. And if it so happens that I wind up gluing it like that, then, well, that's life. Okay, so let that sit for a sec. Is our dash going to cooperate now? Feels like it. So, get that steering wheel kind of straight in the spot that I want it. So there. Okay. Okay, steering wheel is in. The hole that the steering wheel passes through on the dash is actually quite big, and so even I'd have to slather a bunch of glue on it if I wanted to actually glue it to the dash itself. So that's why I instead just glued it to the firewall. Now the front seat, that's going to be a bit tricky. Now that the steering wheel is in, and the steering wheel sits kind of low, so I'm going to have to pry it in there. Feels okay, man. Steer, yeah. Alright, so I'm going to hold this up. Get that in there. Squeeze that in. I might have to actually lift the whole dash out. No, we're good. Now, if this was real life, there's no way you're going to fit your legs in on that seat. You're never going to get yourself in that car with the seat, with the steering wheel so close to the seat. There's not even, it's almost touching. I've got maybe a millimeter between the seat and the steering wheel. Let me turn it around here so you can see a little bit. Yeah, like that. There is, that steering wheel is so big, it's basically touching the seat. Ain't nobody gonna get their leg underneath there. But that's what we're working with. Now, the instructions are not really clear. Now that we're able to take a look at this. Looking at our interior, we've got that done. Okay, seats in, seat belts in, all that stuff. Okay, or not seat belt, but the dash and the steering wheel. If we were doing the roll cage, that would be a whole different story. Okay. But again, if we're doing the roll cage and the racing version, that would be a whole different thing. We have our firewall for the engine bay, and that's going to get glued to the front of our interior bucket here, and there's literally no guiding of any sort to get that on there. There's no way. Do you line it up at the top? Do you flip it over and line it up at the bottom here? What do you do? Is left and right? How do you line it up perfectly? The shape doesn't even match each other at all. So how do you line this up? You can't. And so rather than doing it at that step, when it comes time to actually put the interior into the body, I will glue this on last. Okay? This will go on last. Because that's really the only way to get it in so that it's really going to fit and it'll be proper. How's my wheel here? My wheel's good. I just need to make sure it's glued. Looks a little bit loose, so let's just do that and make sure that's going to stay before I move on to anything else. So the other thing I wanted to get done today is I wanted to get some of the body assembled and ready for painting. So as you can tell, I've got it all primered, but I don't have anything assembled on it yet. So going through the steps, they want me to get a lot of it assembled first. a lot of the stuff put together before putting anything inside. So I want to put the wing on, I want to get the rear bumper on. Okay. Although they're telling me I should put the lights in first. And we've got this piece here, 133. It looks like a chrome piece to go across, to go down. I don't think they did that. 133. What is this? This 133 here. Two little chrome bars. What is that for? That is interesting. I've never seen this before. Let's get these off of here. Garbage. So this is supposed to go here. That does not make sense to me. What the heck is that? Oh, hi, Mega Boy. This is supposed to go across? What the heck? I'm not sure what that's for. It just says repeat for other side. I'm not going to bother with these because I don't know what these are. They're supposed to be for some kind of a rack. Go across there, or for louvers. I don't know. I do not know. There's nothing else referenced at all. I'm going to look at the box art. There's nothing showing on the back. They don't show them at all. So, yeah. Oh, I wonder if they were for the racks. You know, you could put a rack on the trunk on these cars back in the 70s and 80s. And that might be what they were for. But, yeah, I'm definitely not doing that. So let's find the wing. Here's our rear bumper, and here's our wing, and here's our front end. And that's about it for that. So the wing, or spoiler, however you want to call it, should just go like this and line up like that. Again, no guide pins, no holes to line up. It's just how it's going to fit and look okay, and then you're done. So, do my best to line it up and get it nice and straight where it's supposed to be. Right about there. Glue is supposed to go on top, underneath, not on top of it, but whatever. Up as best I can. It seems to be connecting the most on the edges and not along here. I could actually see through on this side right there where it doesn't match right here. I can see right through or it doesn't match the contour of the body. But and if I try and make it match, it kind of falls apart. So I'll just live with it and let that sit and dry the way it is. Yeah, that's just the way it's going to be. Now, I had noticed before in a little bit of test fitting, the front nose doesn't really match the body. Oh, I got some black paint on me now. Doesn't really match the. It's going to take some work to get that to match on both sides. So I think what I'm going to have to do is glue one side together and let that set and harden, and then maybe an hour or so from now, then do the other side, because it's not going to match up. It's not going to line up if I try and do both sides at the same time. It's just not going to work. So I'll have to do one and then the other. I might even wind up having to use some CA glue to get it to hold enough that it doesn't come apart. So if I just do that, I'm just going to double check. I want to make sure before I go on to that. Yeah, so we just put that on there. There's nothing else to go together. You just put the front nose on and that's it. So I'll pick a side, which side fits nice. They both kind of fit okay by themselves. Nothing really too fancy. Yeah, okay. So we'll just pick that side there. As you can see, it doesn't line up at all. It's lined up on this side perfectly, but because of the contour, that's how it's going to sit. It sits real wonky because these body panels are, the whole curvature of this thing is not quite lined up properly. So you kind of get to force it to go where it's supposed to be. But I've got to wait now. I got to let that dry. So I kind of want to just hang this thing like this and let it dry. There we go. Just hang it on the edge of my airbrush and that'll do for now. Let's see. Interior's in. Let's just put that over here for now. Our wheel should be dry. Okay, let's do the other one. Unfortunately, it is kind of gluing the wheel to the thing a little bit. If I wiggle it enough, I might be able to get it to wiggle free. Yeah, no. I'm going to have my front wheel, at least this one, is going to be fixed in place. And there's nothing I can do about it. Which means I have one wheel that doesn't spin. I don't care now if I have two wheels that don't spin. The more important thing is that my wheels are straight up and down. That's more important to me than anything. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit. Another thing I did want to show you guys, I was going to paint the rear window in the Tamiya X19 Smoke to give it a tinted look. And I put one coat down, and then I put a second coat down, and it wasn't quite, it wasn't covering enough. I could still really see through it, and I wanted more. And I put a third coat down, and when I put the third coat down, I got like a million little bubbles everywhere on it. And it totally ruined it. You could see all the bubbles through. Even after I let it sit and settle down, it's still, I don't know why it bubbled up. I've never had that happen to me. So I decided, Tamiya lacquer thinner, strip it all off, and I just used regular flat black. And I just thinned it about 50% so that I could get it deeper and deeper. So you can kind of see through. You can, maybe the camera can't really see through it, but in real life it's going to be nice and dark, but it's not 100% opaque. Maybe you could see if I get that. No, it doesn't want to, it's not going to show. Here, I'll do this. Yeah. Here. There, see? You can see through it. And that's kind of the effect I wanted. I wanted it tinted but not totally solid black. So on certain lights, certain angles, if you put a light through here, you're going to be able to see it's not perfectly 100% solid black. So I wanted to show you that. And of course I trimmed it off. The front and rear windows were one whole piece with these two big ugly bars going through that totally covered the T-top detail on the interior, and I just thought that was stupid. So yeah. Okay, so that glue should be set there. Yeah. Alright, so let's go back a step. Go back a step here, and we'll put our engine in. So I have all my spark plug wires done on the engine. I showed you guys last time putting the little holes in the cylinder heads, drilled the holes in the distributor cap. I ran my wires, and so I got my wires, ran the wire down to the front witch and connected to what I figured is a coil. Assembled my little fan and fan belt, and so that's all on there now. Not really too much to talk about it as far as that goes anymore. So she's ready to go in. So I'll grab my drive shaft, because that's got to go also. Remember when we put in this little bar, I couldn't get the drive shaft through. The universal joint on one end is bigger than the others, so you got to run it in like this now, drop it down, and then push it back and put it into the rear axle somehow here, like that. Now that it doesn't want to go. Yeah, like that. So the oil pan has this one little pin that just lines up with this one hole right here. So I'll just get that lined up on the drive shaft. If you've got everything done properly, it should line up. drive shaft is in, but my little pin for the there we go. Okay, everything's lined up, everything's assembled. So glue on there, glue there, glue there. So let that sit like this. We'll let it sit on the engine. Actually, it's not going to sit on it. Ah, don't pull apart on me. Get in your home. So I would have preferred that the engine actually sat on mounts. And some kind of a engine mount, because it doesn't, it's just sitting on that one pin. There we go. Ah, come on, don't do that. It's just sitting on the one pin, and so it doesn't have any reference left and right to keep it upright and stable and centered. So you can easily have it just leaning over to one side, and it's not right. There we go. Okay. Let that sit. Still wants to sit over like that. There. Let that sit and dry like that. So unfortunately now I gotta sit and let that dry. Let's go back to the body. This should be okay as long as I don't touch it. It should be fine. Actually, I'm going to get some CA glue because I want it to have a good strong bond and hold. There's not a lot. Maybe I just put a bunch of this stuff on the inside. That'll be okay. Let's see how our rear bumper looks. I think the rear bumper lines up okay, without any real issues. Yeah, it just kind of sits there. Doesn't quite line up. As you can see the instructions through the gap. Hopefully that gets taken up by the tail light. I'm going to grab the tail light just to see, so I know what I'm going to be dealing with when it comes to that. Tail light comes in its own little plastic bag, inside a plastic bag. They really wanted this one protected, and yet it's still got a nub on there to clean off. One of those delicate pieces, you really want to be careful. You don't want to bend it, you don't want to stress it out. So just see if this will drop on there. Yeah, it just drops in, no problem. There will be a gap. I can put some putty in behind there. I think when it's all together, you're probably not really going to notice it. Right? It just kind of sits in there like that, in that little groove. It doesn't really interfere with anything, so it's fine. It's a little bit of a tight fit, so that's nice. I just want to make sure I've got glue where I need it to be everywhere inside. And that can go back to resting. Yeah, see, there's nothing actually touching on the inside there. So I would like to fill that with some putty once the glue is dried a little bit. I want to fill that gap in there. It's on the inside. Put some putty in there just because it really is a big gap. If I get it in the right angle, you can really see it, right? It is a pretty big gap. So I want to fill that. I want to fill that in there just to eliminate the possibility. And you see, moving around with this, now this is being all funny. Don't be weird on me. So that I'm going to have to let sit and really let it sit and dry before I really play around with it. My engine now should be willing to stay in its spot. If I add just a little bit, redo my gluing to make sure it's all solid. See, it didn't sit down at all. That's where it needed to be. It should have stayed there, but it didn't. One of the fan blades was interfering on the see, I don't even need that now. Now that it's sitting where it should be, I didn't realize it at the time. One of the fan blades was hitting the shroud at the bottom and it wasn't letting the engine sit down all the way. So that's my fault. That's my bad. And that's what happens sometimes. And I see now that I don't quite have the fan quite straight. It's kind of angled just a little bit. It doesn't quite look right. Do I care? I don't know. I don't think I cared enough to really break it loose. But anyway, that step is done. So let's go through. That's done. I need to still do this part. This is all done. I still need to do the exhaust tips. This is done. This is done. moving on to the next step. I'm not going to be doing the side exhausts. That's not doing that at all. The interior's done. We're not doing the roll cage. Again, we're not doing the racing car, so we're not using the manual transmission shifter that comes with the kit. We're not using that. Okay. Funny enough, they give you an automatic shifter, which is already in the interior, automatic shifter handle, and they give you a standard transmission handle, but on the actual engine they only have this manual transmission. Not the automatic. That's a manual transmission they've molded, and that's it. So we're not doing that. Again, the seat's already in the interior. We're not doing our fake rear seat delete. Not doing the roll cage. So I am going to have to do our rad hoses. Okay. I've already put the wing on. I've put the bumper on. We're not doing these weird things, roof rack things. So we got the rear light to do once it's painted. This, I cannot do any of this until it's all painted, and then we're just about going to be done. So there's not much left to do. I do want to put on the wheel well flares. I would like to be able to put them on before the car's assembled, so that I can paint them with the body. That's these 4 pieces here. They go on the wheel, around the wheel wells, on the front of each wheel well. So I want to be able to put them on. I hope that they won't interfere with actually putting the body on the frame. But that's going to be something I now have to wait for, because now I'm just waiting for glue to dry. Fun stuff. Wait for glue to dry, right? So I think this is where I'm going to have to just leave it, because there's not much I can do now. I just have to wait for everything to dry before I can really do anything. And which means that's probably where I'm going to leave it for today. Yeah, because there's nothing really else I can do until the glue is set and hardened properly. Because I know from experience, you try to do more while the glue, you try to keep manipulating things and doing things while the glue isn't set yet. You're just setting yourself up for failure. I would like to add in, I don't want to go crazy with detail in the engine compartment. I do, however, I would like to add the positive and negative battery cables and have them coming off and going somewhere. I don't know where. Obviously the negative usually just gets attached to the block of the engine. That's typical. But where the positive goes, I don't know where. I think the positive goes, I'm not sure if this little box on the wheel well is the ignition, what do they call it? Starter relay? The starter relay? I'm not sure if that little thing on there is what that is. I'm not a Pontiac guy, so I don't know. If this was a 70s Mustang, I'd know exactly where it goes and what it does. But yeah, so that's kind of, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research, look at some pictures of the underhood of these 1980 Firebirds, and see if I can find one where that goes. And yeah, so I think because I just have to let that sit and do nothing with it and don't touch it, I have to let the body sit. I gotta let this set up and dry. Interior is done. It ain't going nowhere. It's done. It's fine. Finally got the interior done, and so that's that. Interior's gonna sit until the body's painted. yeah, so I guess this is where I'm just going to leave it for today. And Elisa, maybe try sending me a message on my Twitter. Links down below. If for some reason it's not going through to my Instagram, I don't know why. Maybe there's a setting on there, I don't know. But you could try messaging me on my Twitter account. And I think my DMs are open on Twitch also. You could try just sending me a DM on Twitch. But anyway, other than that, this is where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. And we'll just have to continue on next time. And so I want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for coming out. And head on over to my YouTube channel if you like this stuff, and you can see all kinds of different things that I've built. I do upload still pictures of everything I've built onto my Instagram, and so you can check those out if you like. And yeah, hit that like button and subscribe and all that good stuff, and comments, and yeah, all that things. You guys know what to do. So yeah, that's where I'll leave it for now, and we'll see you all in the next one.